Hey, what's up, everyone? Just making sure that my stream is off to a start. Let's see. Okay, looks like I have no problems. Looks like we're live. Azure, good to see you right off the start. Okay, sorry to have you waiting. I just started, like 8 minutes late, I guess, compared to what I was planning. I had to go and buy the book, and now that it's set up more or less here, let me just double check that everything is working. Uh, where are we right now? My shortcut's not working. There we go. Shortcut's working. Okay. There we go. All right. Even in my iPad, I do need to fix this really quickly. A little bit of technical setup, but once I have this, once I have this ready, then I should be good to go. All right. Seems like that should be good. All right. Yeah. So you haven't read it yet? No problem. I'm just gonna go and first thing I'm gonna do today is just sort of sort of set my mind. So I'm gonna do a bit of pre-reading, as in just to kind of wrap my mind around the book itself. Sort of what people usually get out of the book. I have read Kurt Vonnegut before, and I respect him quite a bit as a writer. Um, he's first of all, he's just funny. He's like funny. He's a funny guy. So I'm gonna go and just sort of delve into the situation around the book, 1963, what was happening, what made him write the thing, and also when people read this thing, uh, what do they usually get out of it? And I did a little bit of pre-reading just last week before deciding on the book, but I want to kind of do a fuller version of that now. Lightning, welcome to the stream. Good to have a group of you here. And let me know, Lightning, if you've already read chapters 1 through 16. Uh, if not, you're just going to get a little bit of my reaction here as we get into it. So before I go into Goodreads, let me actually start with a Wikipedia article, just to kind of orient myself there. So we have Cat's Cradle. Ooh, okay. Let me just. I'm like forgetting my own shortcuts here. Give me a sec. Okay, there we go. So I'm opening up Wikipedia now. And let me just remind myself of generally what was happening. So 1963, this is Cold War. This is just around the time that when was Martin Luther King assassinated? Actually, 68. Oh wait, so hang on. What? Wait, 63. When was Brown versus Board of Education? Okay, that's 50s. Dude, my American history knowledge is garbage. Wait, what was actually happening in 1963? USA in 1963. I think for this, um, okay, Medgar Evers. Oh, okay, John F. Oh, okay, here we go. Um, for this kind of thing, ChatGPT could also be kind of helpful, but we are getting kind of the March on Washington was 1963. There we go. Um, what songs came out in 1963? Because this is like civil rights era. It's like pretty wild. Surfing USA came out. All right. Okay. I'm just thinking, was Bob Dylan writing at this point now? I'm just trying to. Yes, Free Willing. Oh, he just started publishing. So this is right. I guess we're kind of maybe still in an optimistic period, relatively speaking. I don't know if optimistic is the right word. That's probably not how the black community in America felt, um, but like the sort of general psyche of America was changing at this time. People were becoming much more aware of what was happening elsewhere elsewhere in the states, And when you think of 1963, you really do think of the civil rights movement. Oh, and Vietnam. Vietnam War, when did that exactly start? That's like 1955, right? And by 63, okay, the same year Beatlemania began, we have John F. Kennedy with the Ich bin ein Berliner speech. We have the push button telephones. We have um, the Kennedy assassination. So it's a pretty insane period. Uh, that's when this book was published. So but Kurt Vonnegut at this time, as far as we understand, was mostly thinking about the Hiroshima, and when he was planning to write a book around called "The Day the World Ended," about what people were doing on the day of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, meaningful and sarcastic passage, and there's going to be like this, yeah, Bokonon religion. That I've heard about, that I don't know much about, but I've heard this satirical religion thing. I just watched, by the way, I just watched Oppenheimer like like less than a week ago, and which is kind of like a sort of a coincidence, really. I wasn't intending to to then read Cat's Cradle, but I feel like there is some resonance there. And we are gonna talk about this alternative. There's gonna be this Einstein alternative structure of water that acts that could destroy the world or freeze the world over, I think. Okay, that's the beginning of this. I'm gonna kind of skip the rest of the plot summary because I don't think I really. I just don't want to know the entire plot, but I know that's the general premise. We have man's relation to technology, which I think this is something that Oppenheimer, the movie, did pretty well. It I thought Oppenheimer was kind of an uneven movie, but one thing it did really really well was sort of create a disconnect between like how the world is thinking about technology and how the world is using technology and how the people involved feel about it. And we had obviously Oppenheimer himself being conflicted about it, but we had multiple positions on it, and Oppenheimer saying one thing out in public but feeling something privately. That was such an interesting. That was probably one of the best parts of that movie, actually. So I'm kind of curious about this particular theme. And I don't usually get too into themes really before reading a thing, but I just think in this particular one, it's so close to us. We also just had Oppenheimer come out like a year ago. I feel like this is a theme that people can kind of get around, especially as we now. I don't know how political some of my viewers are going to be, but like, people are, depending on which slice of America or which slice of the world you're in, you may also be starting to worry about like China versus America and that whole thing, like Cold War #2, that whole thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna comment on that per se, but that might be a way for you to latch onto this as you read this text. Okay, so this is more about the narrative, the story itself. I'm gonna skip all of this. There's this. This is again more thematic sort of explanation. I'm gonna skip all that. Reception. I'm shocked at how short the reception section is. This is shockingly short. Okay, so I'm gonna have to rely more on Goodreads. But here we go. Sturgeon. I vaguely remember this name. He wrote scripts for Star Trek. Said, the storyline is appalling, hilarious, shocking, infuriating. This is annoying. You must read it. Take it lightly or you'll kill yourself. Okay, which is, high praise. Got it. But that's literally the only reception that we got. I want to know quotations from other people's responses at the time, but I'll just move on from. Oh wait, this one's interesting. This is less than a decade later. They banned the book because it was garbage, but that doesn't really mean anything. That doesn't really give us anything. So I'll just leave that. And let me just quickly see. I'm going to scan for anyone who's hyper excited about this book, who loves this book. If so, we have like strongly recommended. I also like hating. If people genuinely hate the book, I want to know some of that as well. But I want strong feelings, so I'm going to just do a quick skim for it. Um, and I'm gonna kind of avoid like brainy. I'm gonna avoid the sort of brainy analysis. So this person is kind of brainy, is organizing everything by themes. I want more emotional reactions. So this is more probably a satirical thing, um, but it's probably a bunch of inside jokes here. Two voices in my head, Laura Anzo. Okay, skipping that one. Better than the Bible. Okay, that one's not very long though, so oops. Bit of loading. Give me a sec. Okay, this one is not a long comment, so there's nothing to learn from this. This one's kind of it's kind of brainy, but you know, there's a quote. So let me read this quote. What is sin? I mean, that's kind of okay. It's too brainy. I'm gonna look for more emotional. Okay, that's just background information. It's more like a teacher's thing. Okay, here we go. That's more personal. Here we go. I was obsessed with this book for a while. Sent me down the path to other books. I got Slaughterhouse-Five, loved it. Uh, Fun, yes. Easy to swallow, yes. Without detracting from the importance, yes. Reminds us to laugh, yes. That is very much that's a general comment about Kurt Vonnegut that I mean I haven't read that much Vonnegut, but I feel like I can just generally vibe with that assessment. Nothing. What can a thoughtful man hope for mankind on Earth, given the experience of the past million years? We can hope nothing, which is kind of funny. Satirizes war, weapons of destruction. Okay, a little brainy here. I'm gonna go. I want more. Okay, we are just mentioning the humor and the themes. I guess it's hard for people not to read the book without also thinking about themes because it's just so. I mean, it's a satire of our society, so you kind of have to not. Um, like, it's hard to not make connections to our world. Generally, with these streams, I've tended to avoid too much thematic analysis because I feel like themes kind of bias you towards like it makes you want to like turn your like school brain on, like student brain on, and I really believe that turning the student brain on actually harms your enjoyment of the book. Um, so I try to avoid the sort of brainy things, but this one's maybe a little harder to avoid. But here, finally, we have something that's a little bit more similar to the emotional reaction. I mean, what was it? Over here at we had Theodore Sturgeon saying it's appalling, hilarious, shocking, infuriating, annoying. You must read it. Now, obviously, this is just words. Like it's not it doesn't really teach me that much about the book. But at least this is an emotional reaction. Now I'm getting another emotional reaction, kind of emotional reaction. Um, it's absurd and surreal, um, memorable. There's outrageous, slapstick funny, cynical. Okay, but we're still kind of in analytical mode. I don't think I can yeah, this is too famous of a book. It has too many I want more eyes. Where are the eyes? Where is the first person personal, you know, I want to see how this has changed people. Eh, okay. I'm gonna have to give it up. I think I'll have to give it up at this point. So the Goodreads reviewers aren't really connecting the experience. I mean, they're making judgments, right? They're saying it's funny, they're saying it's absurd, they're saying it's irreverent, and they're kind of giving me clues as to what's good about it. But they're not fully making that connection back to themselves, and so I'll try to I'll try to make those connections on my own as I go through the first 16 chapters. All right, so let's just get into the book now. That's it for pre-reading. Um, and I'm gonna switch over to my iPad. Give me a sec. Uh, I keep forgetting my own shortcuts. Okay, there we go. Oh, right. This is a new iPad for me, so it isn't really set up yet. Um, sorry, let me just do this real quick. Um, Hang on. Spacing, alignment, margins. Let's make them huge, huge. Okay, and then okay, it's a little too big. Give me a sec. Yes, laughing prophet of doom. That's actually a great description here. Um, the day the world ended, and I bet in 1963, I bet this just felt very real. You know, I bet it just felt like the end of the world could happen at any moment. So that's a sort of catchy first chapter title. All right, let's get into it. It starts like Moby Dick. Here we go. Call me Jonah. Yes, Jonah, a way less epic name than Ishmael. Yes, we have Jonah. Call me Jonah. My parents did, or nearly did. Now we're literal. Whereas in Moby Dick, Call Me Ishmael is like this sort of like pseudo, like it's just like a temp, like just a name for. It's like we're just positing that name right now here. We have a almost name that he got, which is Jonah, but he's kind of taking on this Jonah. All right, got it. If I had been a Sam, I would have been a Jonah. Still. Okay, that's kind of interesting, actually. And I try not to do all the allusions right away, but but we're obsessing about this name right now, right off the bat. And Jonah is the biblical character connected to whales, by the way, like Moby Dick. Connected to whales, he's the guy who was consumed by a big whale like fish thing and sea monster whale fish, whatever the translation one actually comes out to be. And um, and I guess I forget what the story was. He kind of prays and he gets saved somehow. But um, we have Jonah here. The day the world ended. So tragedy, tragedy, and we have some sort of hope, I guess, in the name. Here we go. Compelled me to be at certain places at certain times without fail. That's a sort of vague and ambiguous. Not ambiguous. It's like sort of like nebulous and kind of vaguely threatening. I'm trying to figure out what that is. According to plan. Okay, so I don't know if this is supposed to be like a sort of religious, like a divine plan kind of thing, but has some of that sort of vibe here. So that's interesting. From the very first paragraph, there's a bit of tension that I feel right away. Two wives ago, 250,000. Yes. Um, I began to start writing this book. what important Americans had done on the day that the atomic bomb was dropped. Okay, there we go. Oh, so he is a Bakanonist. Bakanonist? Okay, I might have to figure out how people are pronouncing that, but that kind of gives me a context for this. And according to plan, at each appointed second, at each appointed place, this Jonah was there, has a vague religious undertone. So we are now Bakanonist. And if there had been anyone to teach me the bittersweet lies of Bakunon, uh, it's weird that he says bittersweet lies. That's very ironic. Um, oh, so he's on an island, which is also pretty random. Okay. We believe that humanity is organized into teams that do God's will without ever discovering what they're doing. Such a team is called the Karas by Bakunon, and the instrument, the kankan, that brought me into my own particular Karas was the book I never finished. Okay. Ooh. All right, so interesting. We kind of built. Vonnegut is very good at just building an entire world with like very few words. That said, I do want to do a quick. I want to figure out how people are pronouncing um, Bakanon. And yeah, this is not gonna be. What I need is a YouTube video. Um, okay.
In the beginning, God created man from mud to think of one. Tobago, London School of Economic and Political.
Okay. I want to hear like I want to find like an academic conference where I just want to hear how they're pronouncing it, uh, but I don't think. I think I'm gonna have to just make it up for now because I think it'll take me too long to get this Bakunon.
Hey guys, this is a review explaining why the atomic bomb was dropped on about the three Honecker children who are all now adults.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip this bit. I'm just gonna kind of commit to my own pronunciation. All right. So back to the book. The reason I want to be nitpicky about the pronunciation up front is because I'm gonna say this word so many times. But whatever. Nice, nice, very nice. Bokunon, Bokunon. Bokunon? Bokunon, Bokunon. I kind of like Bokunon better. So Bokunon, Bokunon, Bokunonist, Bokunonist, and Bokunonism. That is my current pronunciation. Here we go. If you find your life tangled up with somebody else's for no logical reasons, hey, maybe they're your caress. This is kind of like this is kind of like your signs. Like I'm a Sagittarius. Your astrological signs here. It's like, oh, maybe you're connected, right? At another point, man created the checkerboard. He created the caress. And this is sort of spiritual connections. It's beyond our societal constructs. It's freeform. Oh, a sleeping drunkard up in Central Park. A lion. Okay. We are all connected together. Nice, nice, very nice. Nice, nice, very nice, very nice, very nice. In the same device. Huh. I feel, yeah, it's weird. It's very unsettling, actually, because this, I can't tell what the attitude is. We're making fun of religion to some extent. We're making fun of, okay. It's starting, right now, we sound like we're making fun of religion mostly at this moment. Okay. Okay, I showed her a blueprint of a doghouse, which is kind of okay. I don't know how common. Do you normally have a blueprint of a dog? I mean, okay, I don't know. Maybe I don't really know how to parse whether that's supposed to be ridiculous or not. Maybe it's normal. I don't know. Um, but this is obviously a kind of unusual conversation to be having. Give it to your husband or your minister to pass on to God, I said, and when God finds a minute, I'm sure he'll explain this doghouse. She fired me. I shall never forget her. She cannot bear to look at a worm. When she saw a worm, she screamed. She was a fool, and so am I, who thinks he sees what God is doing, right spoken on. This is a funny, it's like a very modern sounding religion, but okay. We are criticizing dogmatic certainty so far. Here we go. All of the true things I am about to tell you are shameless lies. Founded on lies will not understand this book either. Okay. So we are in the sort of postmodern world where religion is just lies, but now we're no longer upset about it. We're accepting it. We like that it's made up of lies, and um, we we play along with the lies. Okay, I'm just gonna move on from that. About my caress then. Okay, Honecker is one of the first fathers of the atomic bomb. This dude was definitely part of my team. The tendrils of my life is Sinuka, which has no connection. I don't know what that means right now. The Cornell chapter of the fraternity, the Delta Upsilon. So there's some sort of connection between Honecker, Felix Honecker, and this narrator. Or should I say brother? I am a Cornell Delta Upsilon. I'm a writer. I'm writing about what happened on August 6th, 1945. Of life in your father's house on the day the bomb was dropped. I don't know as much about your illustrious family as I should. This is such a weird way to write a letter. Okay. Fraternally yours, because I'm from Delta Upsilon as well. It's kind of a... Okay, this narrator's just sort of a weirdo right now. And I think Kurt Vonnegut is intentionally making that letter sound creepy. Like, I think it's supposed to sound weird. Like a... like a... Like... Like sort of... I don't know, dude's like in on a conspiracy theory or something. It's the vibe I get. Letter from a pre-med. So Newt is a pre-med. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm not going to be much help. My brother and sister are going to be more helpful. Here's the address. Back in the day, in the 1950s and 60s, you can just you can just give random strangers your family's address. The brother is dead. my memory is really just the synthesis of other people's memories. Well, that's a little bit more extreme than what he actually said, but whatever. Oh, so he's actually writing it all out. Okay. I remember I was playing on the living room carpet. Ilium. Pajamas, bathrobe, cigar. Playing with the loop of string. Cat's Cradle is coming out here. Forgot to totally mention that Cat's Cradle is a whole game that you play with the loop of string. Trying to see if there's like any sort of metaphorical resonance here, but I'm just gonna move on. Staying home from the laboratory. He stayed home whenever he wanted to. Yes, like the work from home life. Father spent his whole life working at the General Forge and Foundry Company in Ilium. When the Manhattan Project came along, he wouldn't leave Ilium. Anyway, I was playing on the carpet outside his study. Merton. Burn. Okay. Playing with the loop of string. Okay, this string comes out multiple times, so yes, we're being very intentional about this. It so happens I know where the string he was playing with came from. Maybe you could use it somewhere in your book. Took the string from around the manuscript of a novel that a man in prison had sent him. It was about the end of the world. Okay, very layered now. Okay. A guy who's about to write a story about the end of the world, a nonfiction story about the end of the world, is reaching out to a guy who was there at the quote-unquote end of the world. And that guy who was there at the quote-unquote end of the world has received a novel manuscript from a guy in prison who was writing about the end of the world in fiction form. Hang on, let me just quickly double check something. 2001: A Space Odyssey. When was this? Oh, this came after the book. Okay. Sorry, I was just thinking about the year 2000. Okay, but that film was made 5 years later. So this book is not referencing that film at all. There was a big sex orgy. Yes, then Jesus Christ himself appeared 10 seconds before the bomb went off. Marvin Sharp Holderness, and he told Father in a covering letter he was in prison for killing his own brother. Which is kind of menacing because right now the narrator, as in the son of the father of the atomic bomb, this narrator, I forgot this narrator, what's his name, Herman or something? Angela is his sister's name. I'm terrible with names. I always forget names. The name should be here. Newton. Okay. Newton right now is saying that his own brother, not Angela, his sister, but his brother could be dead. And now we're just having this like other layer where the fiction end of the world writer was in prison for killing his own brother. And I feel like Kurt Vonnegut might do something with this because he kind of likes like the sort of mind fuck of just sort of like folding plots within a plot within a plot. If I remember correctly, I think he likes that kind of thing. So like I'm kind of paranoid what Kurt Vonnegut is gonna do with all of these random layers of resonance here. He sent the manuscript to Father because he couldn't figure out what kind of explosives to put in the bomb. Right, he was doing research. Frank. So Newton, Frank, and Anna or somebody. I forget the name actually, but anyway, Angela are the three siblings. Frank and I must have read the orgy part 1,000 times. Hell yeah. And then my sister Angela found it. She burned it up and the string with it. Okay, there we go. Okay. Angela, Frank, and Newton. On the day of the bomb, he was really interested in this string. And Cat's Cradle, I'm sure, has Cat's Cradle, I'm sure, has probably some like mathematically, I'm sure it's like one of those things that like a mathematician can like one of those like mathematical proofs would be like how many permutations of Cat's Cradle can you possibly make, right? Like strings and like the fact that you can kind of change the shape of things, like that's like very hard in math, I think, if I'm correct. So I feel like Cat's Cradle is just an interesting image, and this little string is an interesting image, is what I'm just trying to say at this moment. And I feel like I can feel like my mathy brain turning on when I'm thinking about it, because we have this like physicist, this atomic bomb father playing with a string, and what an interesting image that is. Now you're thinking about the yeah, the tendrils. Tendrils and strings, I feel like a little for me a little bit more distant, but yeah, I mean maybe we'll have to see because the tendril was connected to that one word, that uka word or something like that. But like, I still waiting on that. I'm waiting to close that up because I don't really know what that is. Ladies and gentlemen, I never stop dawdling. Wonder, learn, happy. That's his whole speech. Okay, sounds like a traumatized man. Um, he looked at that loop of string for a while. He started playing with it. He made a cat's cradle. His father was a tailor. Okay, so maybe interesting little characterization there. Making that cat's cradle was the closest I saw my father play a game. So many real games going on. He must have surprised himself when he made a cat's cradle out of the string. He tried to play with me. Not only had he never played with me before, he had hardly ever even spoken to me. So this was a very unusual character, okay? Very unusual character. And right now, how many minutes am I into this book now? What I'm really largely feeling is I'm feeling a lot of unsettled. I'm just feeling very unsettled. Like I don't really know where to put my like I feel like I'm hanging off of a wall and I don't really know where to put my feet because nothing feels stable yet. Okay. The only thing that feels kind of stable now is this string, but I don't know what this string will do. All I know is these characters are extremely unpredictable. They're very strange characters, and I'm just sort of like waiting. See where the nice pussycat sleeps? Meow, meow. He showed me his teeth, which is a strange description of this father, and he waved that tangle of string in my face. And what a strange dad, okay? What a strange and creepy dad. Um, his pores looked big. His eyes and nostrils were stuffed with hair. Okay, sorry, his ears, not eyes. Cigar smoke made him smell like the mouth of hell. He was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. I dream about it all the time. Then he saw saying, "Rockabye Catsy in the treetop." Oh my god. This is fucking creepy. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bell breaks, the cradle will fall. Down will come cradle, Catsy and all. Cradle, cradle. So we're interesting. Well, you know what we just did? We just did a bit of wordplay here. That's there's cat's cradle, and when we say cat's cradle, I don't know why that string pattern is called a cat's cradle. Um, but now the dad, Felix, uh, Felix. I'm just gonna call him by the first name because I forgot the last name. But Felix is taking the cat part out, and he acts like a cat. He shows the teeth, uh, and simultaneously he takes the word cradle, and he's plays with it. He says cradle, cradle, cradle will rock, and down will come cradle, Catsy and all. It's like scary. Like this is very disturbing. Like what? I burst into tears. Of course you did, dear blessed child. I jumped up and I ran out of the. Yes, I have to sign off here. It's after 2, and they're complaining about the typewriter. Okay, an interesting way to build suspense there. Now we want to know more from. Now we want to know more from Newton. Ugh. Now we're calling him Newt already. We're friendly with him. Bug fights. Okay, this guy's a bit of a bum too, apparently. So the guy who sent the letter, the narrator himself, is kind of weird, Jonah. And then because the way he sent that letter was creepy, and then this guy is also sort of a bum, and like like no one is reliable here. Um, After I finish this, maybe I'll go for a walk through one of the gorges. And what kind of person would actually respond to a letter like that and then start telling his whole life story? You know what I mean? It's like very surreal. Surreal. Let's use that word that somebody on Goodreads used. Yes, I feel it feels surreal, but more than surreal, it does feel more uncanny. Not uncanny. Like if canny the right word? Like it feels a little like a vague inkling of creepiness is just like everywhere right now. They wanted Tridelt. Wait, they jumped into the gorge together, holding hands. Did they kill themselves? Is that the idea here? I think that is the idea. I think they killed themselves because they didn't get into their sorority, which is also kind of weirdly cultish, right? So we get that whole thing. Okay. Angela hurt my father when I wouldn't admire the cat's cradle. He couldn't remember anything about his own wife. Okay. Father was a total weirdo. He tipped his own wife for breakfast. Frank was 12. Like a dog, he'd make a hollow in the earth. So he'd like dig it up. And you can never tell what he would have. He might have a dirty book like a Playboy magazine. Or I don't know if that existed in the 60s. Maybe it did. I think it might have started existing in the 60s. He had a bottle of cooking sherry. Okay. Sherry being alcohol. Okay, so mason jar. Different kinds of bugs into the jar, making them fight. Yeah, I mean, that is what you do when you're 12, right? I stopped crying. Stag beetle against 100 red ants. Centipede against 3 spiders. Shaking the jar. Shaking the jar. There you are, Angela said. Experimenting. Yeah, that sounds like okay, kind of sociopathic sounding, but okay. 22. Oh, Angela was much older, okay. So at this very moment, uh, it was 6 years. So this child was only 6 at this time. Newton was only 6. Frank was 12, and then Angela was 10 years older than Frank, 22. Treating us exactly the same. Okay, Angela is the one that's kind of the only normal sounding person so far. She was taking care of her own father by treating her father the same that she would treat Frank and Newton. There we go. Angela was the one who would help start the car. I wonder about turtles. What do you wonder about turtles? When they pull in their heads, do their spines buckle or contract? Angela was one of the unsung heroines of the atom bomb, incidentally. He stopped working on the atom bomb because of turtles. She told them to take away the turtles, and so they stole their turtles, and he went to work. Okay, the father, the father, Kurt Vonnegut is making a crazy father. Dude, yes, every line is very unpredictable. Turtles came out of nowhere. Okay. We have a very unstable father. She asked me what had happened between father and me, how ugly he was, how much I hated him. That is something that a 6-year-old could say. How dare you say that about your father? He's one of the greatest men who ever lived. He won the war today. Don't you realize that he won the war? Father was all she had. She didn't have any boyfriends. She didn't have any friends. She only played the clarinet. Okay, so Angela takes care of the family and doesn't have a society. Hated the father, slapped again, punched her in the stomach. Oof. Frank punched her. He won't come, Frank said. He laughed at. So Frank is a bastard. Frank stuck his head out the window. Angela and Newton are crying. Frank is laughing. So father's just like, huh? And then he just goes away. Alamogordo. Okay, this is like the Southwest. We're fictionalizing the not Santa Fe, but like that place in New Mexico that they went out to. After the thing went off, after it was sure that America could wipe out a city with just one bomb, a scientist turned to father and said, "Science has now known sin." And do you know what father said? He said, "What is sin?" All the best, Newton Vonnegut. Father is a weirdo. I'm trying to figure out, like, is the narrator's attitude towards science being revealed through, actually not the narrator, is Kurt Vonnegut's attitude towards science, because the narrator is more sort of, so far, more sort of ingenuous and kind of nodding along. How do we feel about science right now, or scientists right now, given how ridiculous this character is, right? I don't know. The illustrious Vonneguts. Newt added these 3 postscripts. P.S. I can't sign myself fraternally yours because not only is it fucking weird, They won't let me be your brother because my grades suck. Okay, sure. Actually, do did people in fraternities say fraternally yours? That seems like not a normal sign off line. Um, yeah, I don't. I am hard pressed to believe. Now, somebody tell me if I'm wrong, but um, fraternally yours. I'm pretty sure in the '60s, two kids from the same fraternity at different schools were not signing off their letters saying fraternally yours. I'm gonna guess that's not the case. For me, it sounds weird. Like it sounds like a and it kind of going back to the cultish thing about the fraternities and the sororities, it kind of sounds cultish. You call our family illustrious. You might be making a mistake if you called us illustrious. I'm a midget, 4 feet tall. And the last we heard, he was wanted by the Florida police, the FBI, um, surplus LSTs. I'm guessing LSTs is like the army supply foods. Um, Glamorous is probably closer to the truth, sure. PPPS. Oh, actually, I am a very lucky person and I know it. I am about to marry a wonderful little girl. There is love enough in this world for everybody if people will just look. I am proof of that. That's kind of amazing from Kurt Vonnegut to just sort of like add this sort of like twist of human touch into a character that so far has just been kind of strange to me. Like, why would you divulge all your weird family secrets to a stranger, right? Um, but yeah, there is love enough in the world for everybody if people will just look. That's cute. It's very surprising. Newt's thing with Zinka. Oh, this is the girl? Newt did not tell me who his girlfriend was. Everybody in the country knew that her name was Zinka. A Ukrainian midget. Oh my god. The narrator lucked out reaching to Newt. He really wanted to share the fraternity bit, I guess, is what you're talking about. Um, how am I supposed to feel about the word midget right now? And how am I supposed to, like, am I supposed to say, this is written in the 1960s. And how am I supposed to feel about the fact that now we have two characters that are supposed to be kind of weird or maybe even funny because they're like, you know, they're little people, right? Is little people even is little people even the politically correct term? I don't even know anymore. To me, the term little people sounds a little bit not ingratiating. It sounds a little it sounds unctuous to me. It sounds condescending even to some extent. I don't really like that term, but I don't really know what the term is supposed to be. I'm just gonna read read it as it is for now. If anybody wants to enlighten me and make me a better person, go ahead and have at me. Um, Here we go. They are dancing. He immediately not proposes but kind of courts her. She's looking for political asylum in the United States. This is 1960s. It's Ukraine. It's Cold War. So now, yeah, they're. Speaking of Ukraine, by the way, yeah, she's leaving Europe to try to stay in the States. Americans too materialistic. She wants to go back. Okay, she really didn't like America in 1 week. Um, and he's already heartbroken. So sad. And she's much older. Okay, so we had that bit of heartwarming Kurt Vonnegut is just sort of fucking with us right now. He has this bit of like heartfelt touch here, and then he immediately yanks the carpet out from under us by just making making Newt feel seem ridiculous again. I loafed on my book, which is for me is very Walt Whitman to say it that way, but vice president in charge of volcanoes, he's kind of procrastinating. It seems like yes, one whole year later. Just double checking. Is Ilium where Cornell is? I'm gonna go and look that up right now. Cornell University. No, that's Ithaca. Is Ilium an actual place? Because now Ilium and Ithaca are Greek names. Yeah, it's a fictional. There we go. Okay. But is it based on? Oh, it's he uses the same Ilium for multiple places. Ilium works. Has been compared to Zenith. No, may refer to Troy, Ilium. But it resembles Schenectady. To Schenectady. I don't actually know how to pronounce his name. Schenectady. 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 It's like the place with the GE plant. I was thinking about GE earlier. Okay. Because there's like a place called General something and something in this book. Okay, so I'm getting a general sense of what he's thinking of at this moment. Back to the story. General Forge and Foundry, right? General Electric doesn't sound as militaristic. General Forge and Foundry does sound militaristic. So we'll see if that leads to some sort of commentary. Little people is the preferred term. Why doesn't little people sound kind of like condescending to you? To me, it sounds kind of condescending. Now, I don't think the word midget sounds very good at all either. So I don't really want to use that word, but anyway, I don't really know what to. Whatever. I'm not one. I don't know, so I will not voice my opinion because it's not really my opinion to voice. Let's go. Carras took a dislike to me almost immediately. Dr. Breed, General Fortune Foundry, likes and dislikes have nothing to do with whether you're in the same team. I understand you were Dr. Hoenecker's supervisor on paper. If I actually supervised him, then I'm now ready to take charge of volcanoes. The man was a force of nature no one could control. Secret Agent X9, Dr. Breed. And why is his name Dr. Breed? Like, what the heck? He would pick me up at the hotel. I had a night to kill. Went to the bar at the Del Prado Hotel. Hang out for whores. Bokanon would say, as it was meant to happen. The whore next to me at the bar. Went to high school with Franklin. Frank, the bug tormentor, the missing son. Sandra offered me delights. Unattainable. Outside of... Okay. I said I wasn't interested. She was bright enough to say she wasn't interested either. As things turned out, hilarious way to say that. As things turned out, we had both overestimated our apathies. That is such a funny way to say that, but not by much. So they ended up doing the thing anyway. Before we took the measure of each other's passions, however, we talked about Frank. We talked about Felix. We talked about Breed. We talked about General Fortune Foundry. We talked about Pope, birth control, Hitler, Jews. Talked about phonies, truth, gangsters, business, electric chair. So he's having a very rich conversation with this prostitute. We got drunk. Sandra. Class colors committee. Orange and black. Those are good colors. Kind of cat-like colors, right? I don't know if that's the first thing that everyone else is thinking, but when I see orange and oh, tiger, duh. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking that immediately, but yeah, has kind of like tiger colors, cat-like colors to go back on Cat's Cradle. He wasn't on anything. He never took any girl out. We used to call him X9. Made model airplanes and jerked off all the time. I mean, that is kind of the vibe that I got so far from the kid who digs out his little ditch under a bush and and jerks off and has insect battles, right? So that child is also kind of special. Let's keep going. Everyone in this family is a little special. Protein. Yes, it is hilarious and disquieting. Disquieting is a great word. He was supposed to be our commencement speaker. Who was? Dr. Hoyniger, the old man. What did he say? He didn't show up. Also, if he did show up, his speech was gonna suck anyway. So you guys dodged a bullet there. Not to pun on what happened to Trump, but he literally dodged a bullet, which is insane. Good for Trump. He didn't show up, so you didn't get a commencement address. Oh, we got one, Dr. Breed showed up all out of breath. What did he say? She was repeating it gropingly, dutifully. He said the trouble with the world, sorry. The trouble with the world was that people were still superstitious instead of scientific. If everybody would study science more, there wouldn't be all the trouble there was. Now, it's kind of interesting that Dr. Breed is saying that. Dr. Breed is a very not scientific name, which is it's kind of like very visceral, very like, smells like cum, you know. So this guy, Dr. Breed, is talking about everyone should get rid of all superstition, be scientific, modern, and yet we know from just the general premise of this story that we're not that happy about the nuclear bomb, right? We're a little skeptical of the limits of science. So now, like, I guess what's kind of emerging to me as I'm reading this book is this sort of battle between Bokenism, which is like a ridiculous seeming religion so far, but also kind of honest in a way. It's like a weird. It's ridiculous because the anecdotes that become the scripture of this religion are very like modern and it sounds kind of funny, but actually it's refreshingly honest in the sense that like anyone who can't understand how lies constitute a useful religion does not deserve religion, or whatever whatever that quotation is. I kind of botched it, but it says something like that, right? It's like refreshingly honest, unusually honest. I don't know about refreshingly. It's I don't know how positive to be about that kind of statement, but it's like I don't feel like we're judging Bokenism that much, at least not yet. Versus science, which is supposed to be the modern way, right? And now we have Dr. Breed saying the modern thing. Get rid of like if you go on Reddit, if you go on Change My View, if you go on Ask Philosophy, Ask Historians, right? People generally would agree, get rid of superstition, study science more, right? That's what most people would say, right? So it's weird that, or it's at least interesting. I don't want to say weird yet. It's interesting how we're staging potentially a battle between these two sides, Bokenism versus Breed, religion versus science. And we're actually, if anything, more on the side of potentially this weirdo, cultish island religion. Tell me if you guys are not uh, seeing it that way, but at least that's what's starting to show. Like, my thoughts may change obviously as I keep going, but right now that's kind of the general framing that's starting to emerge for me. What is the secret of life? I forget. Protein. Yeah, that's it. It's actually funnier to me, probably in a way that was not intended, because I'm pretty sure in the 1960s they didn't have protein shakes. But I saw, I saw protein. The secret. What is the secret of life? I forget. Protein. I literally, the first image in my head was like this black and red, sort of like plastic wrapped tub of protein powder. Um, anyways, um, science was going to discover the basic secret of life. The secret of life is protein. And it's still, I think it is still supposed to be funny and a little bit sarcastic. Right now, Kurt Vonnegut is actually implying, unless I have his tone completely wrong, if I am judging his tone correctly, he's kind of implying that the science kids are hubristic. They're overly arrogant about their sweeping proclamations about the truth of the world, that they kind of own the truth, they own the monopoly on the truth of the world. That is suspect. End of the world delight. Yay. Positive words. Here we go. Older bartender. This riveting conversation with this prostitute and the bartender now. When and the midget, by the way, and the little person. Wait. No, not the little person. Sorry. It's just it's the narrator. It's Jonah. Okay. So Jonah, prostitute, bartender number 2 comes in. Cape Cod room. Del Prado. Dave the Bomb. W.C. Fields is a person, maybe a person in radio, I don't know, and nose like a prized strawberry. Remember earlier the father's pores were like huge, like a nose like a prized strawberry kind of disturbs me. It's like not a very good image, especially after the pores comment. It wasn't the Cape Cod room then. All these fucking nets and seashells around. It was called the Navajo teepee. Had little tom-toms. We had people beat on the tom-toms when they wanted service. Real Navajo Indians came in one day, told me Navajos didn't live in teepees. That's a fucking shame, I told them. Before that, it was the Pompeii room with busted plaster. They never changed the fucking light fixtures. The day they dropped Honecker's bomb, a bum came in, tried to scrounge a drink. I mixed him an end of the world delight. Which is, I feel different feelings about that. Like, imagine doing that. Imagine. Imagine the nuke just went off and you're a bartender and you say end of the world. That's very, honestly, I feel like in 2024 you'd get can't, like you would get so dragged on social media for doing something like that, but then again you might have other people, I don't know, man. That is audacious and funny. Half pint of creme de menthe in a hollowed out pineapple with whipped cream. It's very, very sweet, very fruity, very fun, very delightful drink there. There, you pitiful son of a bitch, I said to him. Quitting his job, a weapon, breed, said he was the boss of the son of the research lab. The jumping off place. What a ugly city Ilium is. Oh, God, says Bokanon. What an ugly city every city is. Yes, cities are terrible. I'm kidding, by the way. I actually don't agree with that. I like cities. In fact, just before this stream, I was watching a YouTube video by a guy called City Nerd, and he was talking about cities because he's a city nerd. All right. Sleet was falling through a motionless blanket of smog. That's a depressing description. Still a little drunk. Pink old man. I've never heard that description before. Very prosperous is also not an adjective that you usually use for a person. Beautifully dressed, civilized, optimistic, capable, serene. I felt bristly, diseased, cynical. I had spent the night with Sandra. My soul seemed foul. Cat. I thought the worst of everyone. She knew some sordid details about Asa Breed. Love with Phoenix Honeycrisp wife, the wife that was actually that died. Okay, not the daughter. I was mixing her up with the daughter. She told me that most people thought Breed was the father of the 3 children. Oh, that's spicy. Do you know Ilium at all? Family. It's a family town. There's no nightlife, he says to the guy who just slept overnight with with a prostitute. Urbanism. Yeah, I was restraining myself from saying the word urbanism earlier, but how random that you and I were basically watching the same types of videos. Yeah. As somebody who lives in an Asian megacity, I think about American cities and I'm like, man, could be a lot better. Could be a lot better. Back to this. So the weird irony is this: it's a family town, said the guy who might have made 3 children for his colleague. Sir, there's no nightlife. Here's the guy who just slept over, spent the whole night with a prostitute. That sounds very wholesome. It is. We have very little juvenile delinquency. Interesting history. That's very interesting. This is a terrible conversation. Has a very interesting history, you know? That's very interesting. It used to be the jumping off place, you know? Huh? For Western migration. Oh. Interesting. Okay, so this narrator is terrible at interviews, at conversation. Public hangings. 26 people they killed. Minor Moakley. He sang a song on the scaffold. You can find the... This is such a funny conversation. You can find the words over at the Historical Society if you're really interested. Actually, I'm not that interested. I was just wondering about the tone. I'm just making conversation for conversation's sake. He wasn't sorry about anything. Some people are like that. Think of it. The mind reels. Wow, this narrator really is not interested. When automobiles had cut glass faces. 14. So I'm only reading 3 more chapters, including this one. Oh, you were also in East Asia for a bit. Okay, I see. Yeah. The cities in America. Before I go into chapter 14, I'll just shout out a blog that I love. I don't read a lot of blogs anymore. Just I don't have a lot of time to read about things that aren't directly connected to what I do. But But one blog I do keep reading is No Opinion, which is like an economics blog mainly. But I just learned a lot about. I've learned a lot about housing policy. Actually, is a big part of this, and there's a whole movement. Oh, the YIMBY movement. Yes, the YIMBY movement and the Georgists. Oh, right. Oh, I haven't thought about this stuff in a while. Okay. But I started this whole comment just trying to shout out No Opinion. Noah as in the name, and then opinion, and then pinion as in, yeah. I'll just, it's easier to do, just type it out. Yeah, and No Opinion, it's hard to say No Opinion without making it sound like no opinion, because that's the joke, that's the pun. But talks a lot about cities. Talks a lot about cities actually. So if you're kind of into econ, I think it's a good read. I think these days he's talking a lot more about national security and China and stuff. But there was a period, it was maybe a year or two, where he was really talking a lot about cities, and this book doesn't like cities because cities kind of represents. Well, I'm just inferring why this book doesn't seem to like cities that much, because I think for this book, cities represent kind of man's technical achievements. It's like the Tower of Babel, right? But as somebody who lives in the 21st century, I'm just thinking cities are inevitable. And they're not always technical achievements. They're sometimes very regressive. So it's just how I'm trying to frame that connection there. How do I feel about the bomb, right? I guess I'll have to explore that over the course of this book. All right, let's get into the last three chapters, 14, 15, 16. Here we go. When automobiles had cut glass vases, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Okay. My sick head wobbled on my stiff neck. Did they have bobbleheads back in 1963? Because I don't know if that's the image that he's going for right now. But I do want to. When did these things exist? By 1960, we were already making bobblehead dolls. And by the 50s, there was already a substantial surge in popularity made of plastic. Okay, so they existed. They existed at this time. My sick head wobbled on my stiff neck as the wheels of the Lincoln are caught on the trolley tracks. I asked Dr. Breed. 30,000 people at this company. Contradicting the signs. Honecker had abandoned his car in the traffic one morning. A cigar in the ashtray, fresh flowers in the vases. It was a Marmon. What is Marmon? Okay, I was guessing it was a car. I should have said it before I. Oh yeah, wow. Old school. So, but even then it's still old school because this is from the 30s. Okay. Cut glass vases because it's wow, that's kind of cute. That's crazy, but in the 30s, I guess these cars were very much like luxury purchases. So they would include things like vases for the wife of the 30s to like, wow, that's crazy. Um, and there that car was in the middle of traffic, like the Maria Celeste, which I just kind of want to know what just want to know what that is. Um, a painting of some sort. Oh no, yeah, a painting, right? No, is it a real ship or is uh Celeste, Canadian-built American brigantine, deserted in the Azorean Islands. Okay, but it was found in seaworthy condition later on. Okay. Okay, weirdo. He just lets them keep the car. Did they know? The wife got it. Emily and then Dr. Breed licked his lips. Dude. God. This town is this town is gross. You know what I mean? Like, God. Uh, he got a faraway look. He said the name of the woman so long, dead again. Emily. Okay, let's be more obvious about it. Um, do you think anyone would object if I use the story about the Marmon? As long as you don't use the end of it. The end of it, she wasn't used to driving the Marmon. It did something to her pelvis. The traffic wasn't moving just then. Oh. He closes his eyes while driving. And that's why she died when little Newt was born. Merry Christmas. Yes, let's be more uplifting now. The research laboratory. You know what I'm realizing? We really are. I wonder how much research Kurt Vonnegut did into like General Electric or some of the sort of warehouse, like the factories that the companies that got involved in war production. Because we're kind of I'm finding it interesting that we're actually getting into the general forge and foundry. Like, it's an interesting setting. It would require, not like not like not like 30 something millennials just writing after their MFA programs about their life in Brooklyn, but like uh you would actually have to research companies to be able to write about it. So if he goes deeper into this, I'm actually all for it. I would be very interested in what he picks up, what he picked up in his research here. Here we go. He being Vonnegut. City block from the parking lot where Dr. Breed put his car. Because it's a big company, right? So it's probably, the building is huge. The parking is probably huge as well. 700, only 100 are actually doing research. I am the chiefest housekeeper of all. Okay, a little bit of self-denigration there. Deprecation, I mean, not denigration. Pale pies. Miss Pefko was 20, vacantly pretty, and healthy. Okay. Don't ever describe your girlfriend as vacantly pretty. In honor of the dulcitude of Christmas time, the sweetness of Christmas time, we invite Pefko to join us. Horvath. Wait, did we get Horvath? Oh, secretary of Horvath. The surface chemist. What's new in surface chemistry? I asked Pefko. God, don't ask me. Not me. Stiff and chicken-like. Ransacking her mind for something to say, finding nothing in it but used Kleenex and costume jewelry. How do you like us now that you've been here almost a year? You guys think too much. She laughed idiotically. The friendliness had blown every fuse in her nervous system. She was no longer responsible. You all think too much. That's so funny. That's such a funny reaction. And such a funny image. Blown every fuse in her nervous system. A winded, defeated looking fat woman in filthy coveralls trudged beside us. She turned to examine Dr. Breed. She hated people who thought too much. She struck me as an appropriate representative for all mankind. She would go crazy if anyone... Okay. We have some characters who are really anti-thinking, which is also interesting. But they're not team science, and they're not... Are they team religion? What team are they on? Okay. I think you'll find that everybody does about the same amount of thinking. Scientists simply think in a certain way. That's almost certainly true, right? We're just constantly... cognitive activity is always just on. But yeah, scientists are probably structuring their thinking using the apparatus of science, hypotheses, proofs, whatever's. And people just don't use that apparatus if they haven't really learned it, or if they haven't really trained it. Ugh. Gurgled Pevko emptily. It's like a foreign language. I don't know. Then I'm dumber than an 8-year-old, Pefka mourned. I don't even know what a charlatan is. Interesting. It's interesting having this contrast between smart and dumb, quote unquote. I wonder. I can't tell if Vonnegut is just using them for comic relief, or if this is going to be a recurring thing. Like, is it a one-off, or do we get clashes between less intelligent and more intelligent people, right? And if so, how does it line up with the rest of the story? I think that's really interesting, especially as a teacher. It's something I think about all the time. The sort of bridge between, like, I feel like now that I've already said it, I've kind of opened the can of worms, so I'll just kind of briefly explain where that's coming from. But like, I care a lot about the job that I do rewards the intelligent, but I care a lot about the people who can't reap those rewards, and I try to imagine a society in which people who can't reap the rewards of intelligence because they're less gifted, or they don't, I don't know, their interests are elsewhere, or their skills are elsewhere. Like our whole society is sort of divided by intelligence almost. Like the jobs that people get who are intelligent are kind of separate them into separate cities, expensive cities and stuff like that. And so it's a theme that's very dear to me. It's something I think about a lot, and I'm just surprised that we're getting this kind of set of characters. I just don't know. I mean, Kurt Vonnegut might just make fun of them and move on. He might not even think about these characters ever again. I would be impressed, though, if he actually didn't, though. I would be impressed if these weren't just one-off jokes, but there are actual characters and he does something with them. All right, back to kindergarten. Speaking of unintelligent, just kidding. I mean, kids are dumb, right? But they're cute, and they're learning. We climbed the 4 granite steps before the research laboratory. Unadorned. Guards. Okay, got it. I just had to pick up some momentum. Here we go. The tip of her left breast, tip, okay, sure, tip, um, showed the guard on our right the black top secret badge. Okay. Put his arm around me without actually touching me. Under his august protection and control, I smiled. There was nothing funny about national security. Nothing at all. This is like one of those sentences one of my friends would say. Okay. Um, Kind of being sarcastic here. I moved thoughtfully through laboratory's grand foyer to the elevators. Asked Dr. Horvath to explain something. I missed a lot. We all missed a lot. Tall, thin girl. Magic. Brackish, medieval word. They're not magic. We don't want to mystify. At least give us credit for that. Okay, so that's chapter 16. Okay, so we have Dr. Breed, who is a sort of inveterate rationalist. He's very like, don't even say the word magic around me. So we're actually, if anything, it's funny. We start with Bokenism looking ridiculous, but we have Dr. Breed, the guy who might have bred the children of Vonnegut. We have Dr. Breed kind of being a sort of a dogmatist, right? Somebody who says, remove all your superstitions, study science, don't even say the word magic around me. And we haven't fully characterized him that way yet, but I think that's the direction we're going in. Who knows with Kurt Vonnegut? He can always just he can turn at any moment, and I might not be ready for it. But right now, my sort of general sense of this story is science versus religion, but it's actually counterintuitively from what you would expect from something written in the 1960s. It's actually science that we're criticizing more, and we're not exactly defending religion. We're actually making a lot of fun of religion too, but we're sort of like, we're in the very early stages. It's only chapter 16 right now, out of like 127 or something like that. But we're kind of setting the stage for this battle here. Meanwhile, we have this world of Ilium, and Ilium is kind of just fucked up. It's like a weird place with weird people, and this one very strange family, Vonnegut family. Where the children might not even be the fathers, and the father was just this total kind of child, like this guy who's kind of in his own world, parks a car in the middle of the street, in traffic, gets fascinated with this string, doesn't read fiction books at least. Kind of mysterious, enigmatic figure here. And I guess I'm assuming we're gonna keep returning back to Felix Vonnegut and figuring out like more about this character as we go, because he's such a strange one. I think the other characters around Felix Vonnegut are more secondary. They're kind of just supporting characters to help us kind of triangulate on this pivotal figure, one of the fathers of the atom bomb. And what will we learn when we learn about this guy, this very, very odd character, right? What will we learn? I guess that's kind of where the plot is driving forward towards, and so we'll see what happens. All right, that's it for me today. Dang, I can't believe that was almost 2 hours. I have a class to teach in 15 minutes, so I have to go soon. But yeah, Azure, good to see, good to get your feedback on this. Let's see, fascinating world building. The world, yes, we are building out a very weird world. um, through yes, through very interesting mediums. So we're yes, I'm liking that part too, and not knowing what to expect is definitely making this probably not a very easy read, honestly. For I have a lot of high school viewers, and I'm gonna guess for high school readers, you should be able to latch onto the humor and like the jokes, but generally, I would imagine it feeling pretty bewildering actually. So. Um, and random. It should feel pretty random. Um, and if you are feeling that way, it's not just you; it's me too. I can't really get my feet down on any foothold right now. But yeah, I think that's part of the pleasure of it. It's like trying to figure out, um, trying not to be juked too many times, really, by Kurt Vonnegut. Just I'm playing defense right now. Um, Okay. Well, that was fun. Thanks for joining. I'll see you guys in the next stream. And if anyone has any insights they want to share about this, about chapters 1 through 16, please drop them in the comments. I'm happy to hear what you guys say, and then I would incorporate any insights that you share in my reactions to the next stream, which will be on Thursday my time, Thursday morning my time, or Wednesday evening in the U.S. All right. Until next time, keep on learning, keep on growing. It was fun hanging out with you guys here. Bye.